and abroad, and others who may be listening. Our scripture comes from Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 to 2, but in sections, 1 to 12 completely. Jesus was born in the town of Bethlehem in Judea during the time when Herod was king. Soon afterwards, some men who studied the stars came from the east to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the baby born to be king of the Jews? We saw his star when it came up in the east, and we have come to worship him." In the interim, a question is asked about where the Messiah is to be born. So we continue with verse 6. "In Bethlehem in the land of Judah, you are by no means the least of the leading cities of Judah. For from you will come a leader who will guide my people Israel." And then concluding verses 9 to 10. "On their way they saw the same star they had seen in the east. When they saw it, how happy they were. What joy was theirs. It went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. They went into the house, and when they saw the child with his mother Mary, they knelt down and worshipped him." Our reflection. First and foremost, what star are we following? It is easy to get lost in times like these with so many false guides. We are called to follow the star that leads to the place of blessing, into the very presence of God Almighty. In this Advent and Christmas season, we are called to question the direction in which we are heading. Is it toward Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord? In our personal lives, we are following the path of integrity. Is that our question to ask ourselves? Or is this merely an empty word, integrity, that is quite impractical? In every decision we make, it takes us in a particular direction. I hope and pray that you, our political leaders, will never be pressured to make the end justify the means. Always speak the truth, defend just causes, apologize when wrong, be fair, and exercise wise judgment. Wherever you are, wherever we all are as individuals, let us remember that we have a loving God who sees and knows all things and wants us to enjoy the reward of faithfulness. Let this be a time to lead your whole family by your teaching and example to honor God. Go to church on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day and New Year's Eve or day to offer your worship to the God who has brought you through this very difficult 2019 and is preparing us even now for 2020. Be more generous in your constituency than you've ever been to all the members there, whether they are your known supporters or not. Let your care and concern be the presence of God seen through you. Be sincere and real, doing what you do to glorify God, not to win votes. Inspire your people to work hard and build up our nation, supporting programs and projects that will develop us as a people. Second point of reflection, leadership. Like Bethlehem, we are a small, leading city from which can come world leaders. Let us follow the Lord, be led into holy leadership to become a people known for our spiritual maturity. What joy will be ours to heal from historical hurts, to grasp every legitimate and morally upright opportunity to grow and prosper. What a joy it will be to hear, "Well done, my faithful people," when we face our judge. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever.
Peter Turnquist, Brent Simonet, Desmond Bannister, Brentwood Wells, Jeffrey Lloyd, Dr. Dwayne Sand, Marvin Dame, Frankie Campbell, Nicio Diagula, Michael Pintard, Darren Henfield, Ramal Ferreira, Felicia Rowe, Brenzel Rowe, Ellsworth Johnson, Philip Davis, Vaughn Miller, Waukesha Parker Edgecombe, Iram Lewis, Carlton Bolag, James Albury, Travis Robinson, Adrian Gibson, Donald Saunders, Frederick McAlpine, Hank Johnson, Mark Hume, Michael Folks, Miriam Reckley Emmanuel, Reese Chipman, Ruben Raming, Ricky Mackey, Shannon Dawn Cartwright, Chanel Ferguson, Glennis Hannah Martin, Chriswell Forbes, Chester Cooper.
Good morning, honorable members. Honorable members, I am in possession of a number of messages from the Senate. The first message being message number 40, the Honorable Senate acquaints the Honorable House of Assembly that they have passed the following bill, accompanying message number 41, dated the 28th of November, 2019, from the Honorable House of Assembly. A bill for an act to repeal and replace the Electricity Rate Reduction Bond Act 2015 and to refine the legal framework for the instance and redemption of securitized rate reduction bonds. Message number 41, the Honorable Senate acquaints the Honorable House of Assembly that they have passed the following bills, accompanying message number 40, dated the 20th of November 2019 from the Honorable House of Assembly. And this one deals with a number of bills, which I should not read all of them. This one approves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bills dealing with the environment. Bill number 42, the Honorable Senate acquaints the Honorable House of Assembly that they have passed the following bill, accompanying message number 42, dated the 4th of December, 2019, from the Honorable House of Assembly. A bill for an act to establish the Aircraft Accident Investigation Authority of the Bahamas and to codify the laws, the laws and regulations related to the conduct of investigations into aircraft accidents and incidents in the Bahamas or concerning Bahamian registered aircraft. And the final message from the Senate is a message of a bill that originated in the Senate. The Honorable Senate acquaints the Honorable House of Assembly that they have passed the following bill and desire the consent of the Honorable House, namely, a bill for an act to amend the Register of Beneficial Ownership Act 2018. Order that the message do lie on the table. Honorable members, as this is the Christmas season, the season for love, the season when our Lord and Jesus Christ came to this earth to save us, as sinners' souls, I should be as brief as possible in dealing with an issue that came to my attention and that a number of reporters had called to get a response from the presiding officer on with respect to certain allegations made against this chair and the presiding officer with respect to abuse of power and abuse of the rules. First of all, I'd just like to simply say that in these environments, in legal environments and quasi-judicial environments, it is inappropriate, first of all, for any member who may be aggrieved by any decision of the chair or of a judge to seek to raise red herrings in the media or the press and to challenge that decision when the rules of procedure provides the procedure for any aggrieved member to follow. Secondly, with respect to these rules, in my estimation, when you read them in their totality, evinces a Machiavellian philosophy to do the most serious damage to the minority parties. I disagree absolutely with the philosophy and content of most of these rules. And I've been calling for the Rules Committee to meet for more than 2.5 years now to review these rules. Now, if someone had taken the opportunity to read these rules in its totality, they would have discovered that the action taken by the Speaker on the 11th of December was consistent with the rules that we happen to be functioning under. In particular, the Rule 3310 33 subsection, I want to be certain, 9. It's very clear that other than, this is what the rule says, other than on a motion of censure or no confidence, or which is critical of government or of an officer in the service of government or a public corporation, the final reply of the mover of the original question closes the debate. That rule is very clear, that other than those two motions, the mover has the right to close the debate. But in this particular instance on the 11th of December, we were dealing with censure and a motion of no confidence, which does not give the mover the right to close the debate. That rule is clear. Secondly, it is not correct to suggest that the Speaker permitted the governing party to repeal a motion when the rules are clear that a motion can be amended. And one of the motions that for amendment without notice is a motion to amend a motion. And so, it is incorrect to suggest that the matter was repealed. The rules with respect to amendments permit words to be deleted, added, or changed, whether it be all the words after the first word or just certain sections of the amendment. What happens in that instance is that you have alternative propositions before the House. Therefore, some members spoke on the motion of no confidence, while most members spoke on the motion of confidence. that is what has happened. Now, I must say that I've had the opportunity to read the Nassau Guardian editorial. And I'm happy that the Nassau Guardian editor decided to read the rules of the House of Assembly. And I must give credit to the Nassau Guardian. You know, I have not been a favorite of the press or the media recently, but I must say that the Nassau Guardian elevated itself to a new level by actually examining the rules and reporting and giving an opinion on the rules. And in this instance, I wish to adopt the editorial of the Nassau Guardian and to table that editorial, which I would now do. Order that the document to lie on the table. Introduction and swearing in of new members. Laying of documents by ministers. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Kalani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to lay on the table of the House a copy of the following: the Judges' Remuneration and Pension Commission Report.
Order that the document be brought up. Order that the document do lie on the table. Further laying of documents by ministers. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for East Grand Bahama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to lay on the table of the House the Bahamas Registered Stock Act, Chapter 362, Bahamas Registered Stock, Directions 2019, Bahamas Registered Stock Number 4, 2039 and 2049.
Order that the documents be brought up. Order that the document do lie on the table. Further laying of documents by ministers. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Bamboo Town.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg leave to lay on the table of the House a copy of the following: the Civil Aviation General Special Regulation Number 11, Amendment Regulation 2019.
Order that the document be brought up. Order that the document do lie on the table. Further laying of documents by ministers. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, there are no further laying of documents.
Statements and communications by ministers.
No
Chair,
statements and communication, Mr. Speaker.
Communication by the clerk.
Speaker,
Messages from the Governor General. Messages from the Senate. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign seat, and new writs. Presentation of petitions. Presentation of reports of committees. Adoption of reports of committees. First reading of bills.
You need to do first reading? Just second.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to introduce and have read for the first time a copy of the following, the Road Traffic Amendment Number 2 Bill 2019.
Is there a second now?
Yes, second.
Order that the bill be brought up.
Order that the bill be brought up. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for the first time. A bill for an act to reform the law as it relates to deaths by reckless or dangerous driving and to establish the offense of vehicular manslaughter by reckless driving, dangerous driving, and by careless driving while under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and by driving while committing the offenses of driving while unlicensed, disqualified, or uninsured, and by driving with unbelted children or other persons as passengers, to provide for higher penalties for these road deaths offenses and for connected purposes. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Order that the bill be read for the first time.
A bill for an act to reform the law as it relates to death by reckless and dangerous driving and to establish the offenses of vehicular manslaughter by reckless driving, dangerous driving, and by careless driving while under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and by driving while committing the offenses of driving while unlicensed, disqualified for uninsured, and by driving with unbelted children or other persons as passengers, to provide for higher penalties for these road death offenses and for connected purposes.
Further first reading of bills. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to introduce and have read for the first time a copy of the following, the Bail Amendment Bill 2019.
Is there a second? Order that the bill be brought up. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for the first time. A bill for an act to amend the Bail Act to increase the jurisdiction of the magisterial court to grant bail in certain cases, to provide for the making of rules for regulating the procedure for applying for bail and for connected purposes. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Order that the bill be read for the first time.
A bill for an act to amend the Bail Act to increase the jurisdiction of a magisterial court to grant bail in certain cases, to provide for the making of rules for regulating the procedure for applying for bail and for connected purposes.
Further first reading of bills.
Mr. Speaker, there are no further first readings.
Thank you, honorable member. Honorable member for Garden Hills, we welcome you. And we thank God for his healing and restorative blessings upon you and your family. May all go well for you in the future. Thank you, honorable member. Second reading and committal of bills. The chair recognizes the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move for second reading committal a bill for an act to amend the Register of Beneficial Ownership Act 2018. Mr. Speaker, this is a very short amendment that was brought about as a result of a delay in the launch of the registry or the system that uploads the registry for the beneficial ownership by 3 months due to some technical issues. And following consultations with the Bahamas Bar Association and other financial and corporate service providers, the Attorney General has made the recommendation that we pass this amendment to extend the period of registration by 3 months to March 31st of 2020. The original date would have been January 1. Mr. Speaker, we do not see this as being any significant consequence. However, it is important that we do get the registry up and fully implemented as quickly as possible. To date, we have approximately 80% of the associations and financial corporate service providers registered and compliant with the Act. We aim for 100% by 31st of March. And in the new year, January, the Attorney General's office will engage in a exercise to ensure that all of the financial corporate service providers, particularly those who may be smaller and a little bit more challenged in fulfilling the requirements, that they have all of the assistance and training that they need in order to effectively utilize the system and ensure that we meet our commitments to the international community to identify beneficial owners and to hold that registry. And for the information of members, this is not a public registry. However, the information is maintained in a secure environment. And so with the blessing of the House, Mr. Speaker, I do now move that this bill for an act to amend the Register of Beneficial Ownership Act 2018 be accepted for second reading and committal. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Is there a seconder? The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Yamacraw.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Then thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, it has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for a second time and committed. A bill for an act to amend the Register of Beneficial Ownership Act 2018. As many as are in favor, or I should say, as many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Order that the bill be read for a second time.
For an act to amend Register of Beneficial Ownership Act 2018. For the second reading.
For the second reading of bills. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Bamboo Down.
Mr. Speaker, there are no further second readings. Mr. Speaker, I do now move that the House resolves itself into Committee of the Whole House with the Deputy Speaker in the chair.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Members, it has been moved and seconded that the House now resolve itself into Committee of the Whole House with the Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the Committee of the Whole House in the chair. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. The House will now resolve itself into a Committee of the Whole with the Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the Committee of the Whole House in the chair.
Leave it there. Committee of the Whole.
Just move this one first.
Chair recognizes the member for East Grand Bahama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move for passage. I move that the long title of the bill be agreed. A bill for an act to amend Register of Beneficial Ownership Act 2018.
Will a seconder? It's been moved and seconded that the long title of the bill be agreed. As many members are in favor of being seated, those opposing will rise. The long title of the bill is agreed. Chair recognizes East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the short title be agreed.
Been moved and seconded that the short title of the bill be agreed. As many members are in favor of being seated, those opposing will rise. The short title of the bill is agreed. East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill be agreed in its entirety.
Being moved and seconded that the bill be agreed in its entirety. As many members are in favor of being seated, those opposing will rise. The bill is agreed in its entirety. Chair recognizes Bamboo Town.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, we're just going to actually, in committee of the whole House, deal with another bill, and then we'll have an amendment to it. We are now passing the amendment on to the opposition so that they can have a second look at it. We'd spoken to them about it this morning. So the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, will be moving the bill. He'll speak to it.
Okay. Chair recognizes the
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
East Grand Bahama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the long title of a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a tax appeals commission and for matters connected therewith be agreed.
Do we have a second? It's been moved that the long title of the bill be agreed. As many members that are in favor remain seated, those opposing will rise. The long title of the bill is agreed. Give me one right here, please. Chair recognizes East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the short title of the bill be agreed.
It's been moved and seconded that the short title of the bill be agreed. As many members that are in favor remain seated, those opposing will rise. The short title of the bill is agreed. The chair recognizes East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move that clauses 2 through 11 be agreed.
It's been moved and seconded that clause 2 through 11 of the bill be agreed. As many members that are in favor remain seated, those opposing will rise. Clause 2 through 11 of the bill is agreed. Chair recognizes East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move that clause 12 of the bill be agreed.
It's been moved and seconded that clause 12 of the bill. The chair recognizes the member for Yamakro.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the amendment in the following time. Clause 12.
Clause 12.
It reads as follows. Decision maker must make the relevant information available to the Commission. 1. The decision maker must use his best endeavors to supply all documents and any other information necessary to ensure the Commission is in possession of all relevant facts and considerations which were before the decision maker at all times. 2. The obligation in subsection 1 also binds any person requesting the decision maker in an appeal. Representing.
It's being moved and seconded that clause 12 of the bill be agreed as amended. As many members that are in favor remain seated, those opposing will rise. Clause 12 of the bill is agreed as amended.
Mr. Speaker, I move that clauses 13 through 34 be agreed.
It's being moved and seconded that clause 13 through 34 of the bill be agreed. As many members that are in favor remain seated, those opposing will rise. Clause 13 through 34 of the bill is agreed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the first schedule to the bill be agreed.
Being moved and seconded that the first schedule of the bill be agreed. As many members that are in favor remain seated. Those opposing will rise. The first schedule of the bill is agreed. Chair recognizes East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the second schedule to the bill is agreed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the second schedule of the bill be agreed. As many members that are in favor remain seated. Those opposing will rise. The second schedule of the bill is agreed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the third schedule to the bill is agreed.
Second.
It's being moved and seconded that the third schedule of the bill be agreed. As many members that are in favor remain seated. Those opposing will rise. Third schedule of the bill is agreed. East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move the fourth schedule to the bill is agreed.
Second.
It's being moved and seconded that the fourth schedule of the bill be agreed. As many members that are in favor remain seated. Those opposing will rise. The fourth schedule of the bill is agreed. East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill in its entirety be agreed as amended.
Second.
It's being moved and seconded that the bill be agreed in its entirety as amended. As many members that are in favor remain seated, those opposing will rise. The bill is agreed in its entirety as amended. As many.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the Speaker takes the
Mr. Chair, you move that.
Mr. Chair, sorry.
It's being moved and seconded. Sorry, the seconder. It's being moved and seconded that the chair, that the Speaker now do take the chair. As many members that are in favor remain seated, those opposing will rise. The Speaker will now take the chair. I beg leave to report that the committee has gone through the bills, making amendments thereto.
Honorable members, the Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the Committee of the Whole House has reported that the Committee of the Whole House has gone through the bills, having made amendments thereto. Third reading and passing of bills. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Register of Beneficial Ownership Act 2018.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for a third time. A bill for an act to amend the Register of Beneficial Ownership Act 2018. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Order that the bill be read for a third time.
A bill for an act to amend Register of Beneficial Ownership Act 2018.
Order that the bill do now pass, and the title thereof be declared to be the Register of Beneficial Ownership Amendment Number 2, Act 2019. Further third reading and passing of bills. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I move for third reading and passage of a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a tax appeals commission and for matters connected therewith, as amended.
Second.
Should be on the... What number is this? Yeah.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for a third time and passed. A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a tax appeal commission and for matters connected therewith. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Order that the bill be read for a third time.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a tax appeal commission and for matters connected therewith.
order that the bill do now pass, and the title thereof be declared to be the Tax Appeal Commission Bill, or the Tax Appeal Commission Act 2019. For the third reading and passing of bills. Thank you, honorable members. Consideration of Senate amendments. Resolutions. The chair recognizes the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for passage the following resolution. Whereas subsection 1 of section 77 of the Anti-Terrorism Act 2018, number 27 of 2018, the Act, provides that the Attorney General may, subject to affirmative resolution, make regulations to give effect to the Act. And whereas the Attorney General has made the Anti-Terrorism Amendment Regulation 2019 to provide for the implementation of United Nations Security Resolution 1718/2006 and its successor resolutions, and any further United Nations Security Council resolutions which impose targeted financial sanctions in the context of the financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, relating to measures to be taken with regards to designated and listed terrorist entities or individuals. And whereas the Attorney General has made the Anti-Terrorism Amendment Regulation 2019 in the form attached, now therefore be it resolved that this House approves the Anti-Terrorism Amendment Regulation 2019. Mr. Speaker, this resolution is another one of those obligations that we have to conform with the international community, and in this particular instance with the United Nations Security Council. Last Monday, the Senate approved these amendments by resolution, and they were unanimously consented to. The House is now called on to approve the amendment as an affirmative vote in favor of this resolution. The amendment seeks to apply the United Nations delisting procedure to the several United Nations resolutions set forth in the amended regulations. The UN has a prescribed procedure which allows a country, legal entity, or person which has been designated as a terrorist or terrorist organization to apply firstly to a UN ombudsman and then to the United Nations Security Council in order to be delisted. The addition to our anti-terrorism regulation is one of the 3 remaining action points required to enable the Bahamas to hopefully exit the FATF's gray list in early 2020. The other 2 action points remaining relate to the Financial Intelligence Unit applying its new analytical software in the reduction of the historic backlog, which we found when we came to office. And the third relates to the DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, and the police providing their methodologies showing how they investigate money laundering and tax crimes, both in terms of international cooperation and domestically. Mr. Speaker, I'm advised that the methodology has already been forwarded to the FATF's assessors in the International Cooperation Review Group, or ICRG, and the same was approved. The roadmap, which will hopefully be completed early next year, involves the FATF's plenary in Paris accepting the Bahamas as fully completed its action plan, which was agreed in November of 2018. If so, the FATF will then agree on a site visit, which would take place between February and April of next year. If all goes well, the Bahamas could and should be removed from the FATF's gray list, which was imposed in June of 2017. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very small amendment that just, again, brings us in line with the United Nations regulations. However, it is an important resolution that in order to be removed from this list, or consideration to remove from this gray list, and hopefully get on the no list, it is necessary that we pass this, as this is one of the points that was raised in the FATF's assessment. And so I recommend, Mr. Speaker, to the House the adoption of this resolution which has already, as we indicated earlier, been consented to by the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. Is there a seconder? The chair recognizes the honorable member for Yamakro.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the amendment that is now before the House. The amendment to the regulations tabled in the House of Assembly must, by virtue of Section 77(1) of the Anti-Terrorism Act, be approved by an affirmative resolution of both houses of Parliament. The Senate, Mr. Speaker, the Senate on last Monday has already approved the amendments by resolution with unanimous consent. With unanimous consent. Pardon me? The House is called on, Mr. Speaker, to adopt those resolutions, which, as the Deputy Prime Minister has indicated, is very important for us being removed from the grey list. Those are my sentiments, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you, honorable member. Order that the resolution be brought up. I don't have it. That's it. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the following resolution be agreed. Whereas subsection 1 of section 77 of the Anti-Terrorism Act 2018, number 27 of 2018, the Act, provides that the Attorney General may, subject to the affirmative resolution, make resolutions to give effect to the Act. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this House approves the Anti-Terrorism Amendment Regulation 2019. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. The resolution is agreed. Further resolutions. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, there are no further resolutions.
Members' statements. Chair recognizes the honorable member for Mangrove Key, South and Central Andros.
Mr. Speaker, I just would like to, at this time of the year when family and friends and well-wishers gather to celebrate the Yuletide season, I'd like to observe that I would have had the opportunity to travel and traverse my constituency, especially in the last few weeks, as our people gave thanks to the Almighty God. I note the fact that while I was in my constituency, I noted that amidst all the challenges, there were persons who gave thanks, especially in the person of Sister Anna Mae Hinsey at the service on Sunday morning past, who thanked God for healing in her family. And I also noted in my address, it would be worth noting that while in Mangrove Key, there's nothing like hearing the songs of the Mangrove Key High School marching band, or being in South Andros, my hometown, and to be standing in the foreground of the Mount Olive Baptist Church, amidst all the challenges in this quaint settlement in which I was born, in Smithfield to be exact, and to see the efforts of the Reverend Arlene Smith and others to make Christmas come to that community. I'd also like to thank all of the members of the Church of God family, led by Bishop Moses Johnson, and also my local pastor, Bishop Calvin Stewart, for their continued prayers, and my mom in particular, Deaconess Lily Mae. And also I'd like to thank those who assisted my very challenged, dichotomized district over the fiscal year, especially with the back-to-school efforts. Thanks to Commonwealth Bank and Mr. William Sands in particular for giving to us over the past few years. I'd also like to thank Mr. Ross Pinder and the folks at the City Lumberyard for assisting with basic supplies, for many things for people in my community. I'd also like to say a special thank you to Mr. Randy Penn, who would have given to many of the community efforts, especially with our baseball program and others. Also like to say a special thank you to Sir Franklin Wilson, who's given to our community over the years in a very consistent way, without asking for much. Also like to thank Mr. Speaker as I about to take my seat, especially branch executives for their unflinching support and loyalty, and also our NGC member in the South, Central, and Mango Key, Andros constituency. I want to say thank you to them. And since we are trying to be non-partisan today and being all-inclusive, I'd like to, maybe the member for Bamboo Town, I'd like to thank Sister Nicole. Nicole is attached, is attached to the minister's office and been very helpful over the years. I want to say thanks to her. But there's much that one could commiserate or even be saddened about, or also challenged by during the Yuletide season, by asking for all kind of things, improvements to the roads, clinics, and docks and everything. But this is Christmas. It's the time to share love and give. So I ask those in the communities who can do a little better than, who are doing a little better than others, to do just that. And to share some love today. Give someone a call you haven't spoken to for a little while, putting aside all those things that separates us, because there's more that binds us together than separates us. But to speak on behalf of my wife and my immediate family, the families from Central, Mango Key, and South Andros, who want to wish all of you and my colleagues a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year. And during this Yuletide season, not to forget our families and friends in the Abacos and the Grand Bahama that were directly affected by the recent visitation of Hurricane Dorian and the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Once again, we look forward to returning here, if God will spare life, in the new year of 2020, when we all would have, we hope, some good news and some better days in the years to come. May God continue to bless all of you during this Yuletide season, and may God continue to bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Marco City.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to send a special greeting to the residents of Marco City in particular, but Grand Bahama in general, and to wish everyone season's greetings and to encourage everyone to keep the faith. This evening, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to also extend an invitation to all of the residents of Derby and Pine Bay and the surrounding areas. We will be holding our second meeting as residents to revitalize those communities just over the bridge in Grand Bahama. And we're grateful to those companies that have already consented to be present this evening. GBPA, the Grand Bahama Port Authority, the Power Company, BTC, LUSCO, other service providers who will come and answer questions that residents have as we intend to rebuild those wonderful communities over the bridge. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank all of the team members, the coalition that have worked with us to bring relief 7 days a week to residents in Marco City and the wider community. The local government officials, who I'm confident my colleagues will be providing some funding for the local government, particularly in the 7 constituencies affected, to assist them as they do their work in rebuilding the community, and to say to local government representatives in Marco City, in particular, we are grateful for all the work you've been doing. Steely, of course, Bernard Grant, and the ever-present Kendall Culmer. And to also say special thanks to the coalition of persons from other political organizations who've collaborated with us as we brought relief, in particular, Norris Bain, who has worked hand in hand with us in Marco City. To say to Norris, thank you very much and congratulations. His son was the one who hit that amazing shot that upset number 1. I believe it was Duke. Yes. And so we want to say congratulations and shout out to him. And then finally, Mr. Speaker, those residents who attended the community meeting in Marco City, those vouchers were made available to 38 persons as the first installment on additional vouchers from the constituency to them. And of course, the government vouchers should be out by Friday of this week, not later than next week, for the additional names. And I want to just mention to residents to please, let's get some of those repairs done before the close of this year. So with that, to all of my colleagues here in the House, have a wonderful holiday, and to the wider community, keep the faith.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for South Beach.
May it please the Honorable Speaker, I wish just to say to our members here in the House of Assembly on behalf of our family and the constituents of South Beach a blessed Christmas and a prosperous, beneficial New Year. I wish also to extend especially to the members of South Beach constituents and to especially the team members of the South Beach the Association, heartiest thanks and appreciation, great respect for the great work that they have done in 2019, the best of 2019 Christmas season and 2020 year that comes in terms of its prosperity and benefits and blessings that accrue. I wish just to take a note, Mr. Speaker, about something I observed on Saturday past at the Christmas party that we had for the South Beach residents, particularly the students' children. Several hundred of them appeared, showed up, 400 or so, and we provided presents according to age groups. So there were those, you know, like 3 to 5, 5 to 7, so on and so forth. Those who were in the category of 9 or 10, we provided this, one of these items. This is something of a technological nature. Quite a number of them were there, maybe 150 or so, and then toys for the rest of them. We had several 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds who came and brought their toys back to us and asked us to give them one of these. Isn't life change for our children? We will know better next time. But just as an indication that today, Mr. Speaker, everything is technology. And the kids now, with their cell phones, a young lady, who I presume is somewhere in the neighborhood of a, I don't know, 7-year-old, 6, 7-year-old, I presume, maybe 8-year-old, when asked what she would like for Christmas, she wanted an iPhone XRS. I don't know what that is, actually. And so someone asked her, well, how much does that cost? She said, well, you know, only about $1,000. Amazingly. So I said, do you expect to get this XRS iPhone for Christmas? She said, oh yeah, my Grammy right here, and Grammy was standing right there, is going to purchase it for me. Merry Christmas and the best of 2020 to you all.
To recognize the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to likewise wish all of the residents of East Grand Bahama a very happy holidays. Mr. Speaker, as we know, this year has been a very difficult year for East Grand Bahama. And indeed, we are still very much in the process of recovery. I want to thank the member for Marco City, a constituent of East Grand Bahama, for coordinating this meeting. We certainly do look forward to the resources that he has offered to put on the table. I'm sure that the residents will take advantage of his generosity. Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, the processes around the government's relief is being finalized. There will be some assistance that will be granted, and the process for that will certainly be, the residents will be advised. We know that there are a number of people who have minor repairs, some that have moderate, and some that have very significant catastrophic damage. Mr. Speaker, this is not going to be an easy bill. This is going to take some time, and patience, and understanding, and looking out for one another. And so I just want to encourage all of our residents and those who are dislocated as a result of significant damage to their homes to keep the faith, to continue to support one another as we put together all of the assistance package that the government will bring to fore. Mr. Speaker, to bring some holiday cheer, this Saturday, 21st, we will be hosting a concert in the park in High Rock, where we will have the Bahamas Police Force band, pop band, as well as some surprise artists and I don't think you want to miss that. So I want to encourage the residents of East Grand Bahama from Coral Road all the way to Sweetings Key, including Waterkey, to come out to the park, the community park in High Rock, from 3 to 6, and enjoy a time of fellowship and Christmas cheer. We will have some relief items to share, as well as some special gifts to help with the rebuilding material package itself. Come out, join with us in celebrating this season, celebrating the birth of Christ, and indeed enjoying the fellowship with one another. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Yamakro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's indeed a privilege to stand here first to thank Almighty God for his many blessings, his grace and mercies. We've experienced what a phenomenon that have freaked the scientists out in terms of Dorian. But we're still here, resilient people, working, fighting, and living in the good graces of the Master. This morning, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to extend holiday greetings and profound gratitude to all of the members of the constituency of Yamakro who have supported me over the years, especially the young folks. And there's a group of young men that I call the Young Lions, the foot soldiers, who are so very efficient. As I look across the room, I see one of my greatest supporters in South and Central Andros, a very good friend of mine, and I want to thank him especially for his kind advice and most importantly, his objective observations. He may not have voted for me, but you know, we have started one of the largest backyard farms in Yamakro in the Bahamas. And he's going to eat the watermelon, the pumpkins, and the okra. Mr. Speaker, but on a more serious note, I would like to extend holiday greetings to my family, my wife, my mother, those strong ladies of New Bight, Dowd's, Cat Island, who continue to support me, to the executive of my great party, two of whom I see are sitting here in the audience today, Mr. Evans and Mr. Sawyer, who are a constant in Yamakro. And I want to thank you, and I pray God's continued blessings on you. I want to thank the ministry for which the Prime Minister has given me responsibility, the Director of Immigration, the Permanent Secretary, Mr. David Davis, and all of the officers and staff of the Ministry of Financial Services, Trade and Industry, who go together to make the industry work. Mr. Speaker, I start off by speaking to Dorian. There's a Bahamian who lives in Lexington, Kentucky, Mr. Ednal Maynard. I want to express profound gratitude to him and all of the persons around the world who followed in his stead in providing much-needed assistance during the devastating effects of Hurricane Dorian. Mr. Speaker, I was not here on last week, but a gentleman that is near and dear to me and who God has allowed to play a significant role in my life lost his wife of 59 years, Miss Minerva Joy Miller. And I would like to extend condolences to Mr. Leonard Boston Blackie Miller and to say to him that I love him and that I will be there to visit him. I'd also like to extend prayers for a good colleague, Mr. Craig Butler, who is now hospitalized. I extend my apologies. I said to you on this weekend that I would come and see you, but unless the Master takes me before the day's end, I will be there to see you. I pray I pray speedy recovery on you, Craig. Love you and your family, and I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Fox Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I guess that's the sprinter speed still in me that I can get up before my colleagues. But, Mr. Speaker, I am so happy to be able to wish a very Merry Christmas to the people of Fox Hill, wishing them all the best for a healthy, safe, and prosperous new year. Mr. Speaker, it's been an interesting year for us in Fox Hill. and it was a place where the hurricane didn't make landfall, not on New Providence at all, but we were really impacted by the wide bands that poured an inordinate amount of water in the Foxville constituency, and we're still working on cleaning that up. We're still working with people getting their houses back together, and the Ministry of Works, we want to say thank you, have already drilled, as I mentioned last week, 250 feet wells, and so we will continue the capital work in 2020 as we give Foxville the facelift that it so badly needs. Mr. Speaker, I wish to invite all the residents of Foxville out to the Foxville Parade on Friday at 7 p.m. for the Christmas tree lighting. Now, our Christmas tree is a very interesting one, Mr. Speaker. It is a Christmas tree that is made of all natural things. And so it is really a sight to behold. And usually ZNES carries up our program during the holiday, so we invite you to have a look at that. I'd also like to wish a very Merry Christmas to the staff at the Clifton Heritage National Park for the work that they have done at the National Park over the year. And thank you to the pastors and to all of the residents of Foxville who came out in large numbers to help the evacuees that lived and were sheltered at the Foxville Community Center. It was really a sight to behold. People pulled out all the stops and gave from their hearts. So thank you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Come out on Friday and see the Congos as they rush out, so you get a preview of what's going to happen on Bay Street when the Congos win. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the honourable member for Golden Gates.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I may, I'll yield to the Deputy Speaker, the honourable member for Tall Pines. The Speaker, he's really been getting up a lot earlier than I've been getting up. So if I may, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield to the honourable member for Tall Pines.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Tall Pines.
I thank my good colleague and learned friend. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I want to say a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to my colleagues here in the House of Assembly and good senators. I also wish to add my prayers, along with the member for Yamakroa, to our learned friend, Mr. Craig Butler, who's in hospital. Speaker, I quickly wish to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the residents of Tall Pines and indeed the entire Bahamas. And I look forward to serving them for many, many more years to come and to do my best as a good citizen of this great country. Speaker, quickly I want to encourage members of the Tall Pines constituency to come to our annual Christmas party, which will be this Saturday at the Constituency Center and Community Center on Faith Avenue North from 1 to 4 p.m. We will have gifts, bouncing castles, etc. games. We'll also be putting together our Christmas tree and lighting our Christmas tree that evening. Speaker, unlike the member for South Beach, I hope that our children will be appreciative, and I encourage them to be appreciative of anything that somebody gives to them, whether it be through the constituency or their parents and friends. Speaker, secondly, Mr. Speaker, I wish to encourage members of Tall Pines to join us. This year, we have a Junkanoo group coming on Bay Street on New Year's Day, New Year's Boxing Day Parade, Tall Pines Ultimate Force. We thought it was good to get our young people particularly involved, and anyone from Tall Pines, really, to participate. So the constituency office will be open until this weekend. So call us, become a part of it. We still need shakers, beaters, not beaters, drummers. Drummers, not beaters. Drummers, not beaters. That can be struck off the record, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can you ensure that that's struck off the record? I'll yield, Mr. Speaker.
Order that the phrase beaters be expunged from the record.
So thank you very much. Please contact our constituency office. I'll be more than happy to help you. Again, Mr. Speaker, congratulations to all of my members who did a very good job this year, and I wish you all a happy new year, including yourself, Mr. Speaker. Continue to do a wonderful job.
Thank you, honourable member. The chair recognizes the honourable member for Golden Gates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the holy season of Christmas is upon us once again. And I want to, first of all, as has been mentioned by my colleagues, offer best wishes to our learned friend, Craig Butler. And we wish him the best and a speedy recovery. I think a lot of us have known Mr. Butler for a long time and his practice. So we wish him the best, sir. Mr. Speaker, we too are having our Christmas party. It's our third annual, and will be this coming Saturday at Sunshine Park off of Blue Hill Road. And we are very pleased that this is our third year running with our Christmas party. And it's always a fun event for the children. It's always a great time for the children and for the families. And we're excited about it, as we are every year, of hosting this Christmas party that's this coming Saturday, starting at 1 o'clock at Sunshine Park. Mr. Speaker, I also want to say a warm thank you and a heartfelt thank you to the members of my association in Golden Gates who have really done a wonderful job, and all the persons who have assisted us throughout the year. There are so many persons who assisted in so many different ways in all the activities we have had, and it really warms the heart to tell them all thank you and thank you. Mr. Speaker, this has been a difficult year, and there's no question. Some of my colleagues have mentioned it thus far. Of course, the members from Grand Bahama who have spoken, and the honorable member from Fox Hill just talked about the shelter at the Fox Hill Community Center. Mr. Speaker, I really want to say a very, very warm thank you to all the persons who assisted with the shelters throughout since September 1st and still assisting today. We have a lot of persons who have really put their shoulders to the wheel, have done a fantastic job. And our hearts go out to the persons still who are feeling the effects of Hurricane Dorian, in particular members and their constituents in Grand Bahama and Abaco and the Keys. This has been the most difficult year for them, and we pray God's blessings on them all, and indeed all of the members of the Golden Gates constituency and the entire Bahamas. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Garden Hills.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to first thank the Almighty God for allowing me to be here, my colleagues and friends, and to celebrate His goodness and His mercies. Mr. Speaker, you know, I was not present last week. I was not feeling well. And so, apart from saying I support the amendment to the resolution last week, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say how pleased I am to have listened to the debate, and I'm pleased to know that the bench is extremely deep. And so, Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the good people of the Garden Hills constituency, people who continue to support us, who continue to have faith in us, and who continue to encourage me to do the right thing. Mr. Speaker, I note with interest that when I mentioned the word Garden Hills, Santa came by and he was delivering the gifts and confirmed that Garden Hills is in a safe place. So, Mr. Speaker, I also want to register my support and commitment to the wonderful persons who serve in the Ministry of Public Service that is headed by Permanent Secretary Donella Bodie. and the grateful people at NIB, who are led by Ms. Nicola Virgil Rowe. Mr. Speaker, it's through their help and leadership and their teamwork that we have been able to do some great things this year. I always brag that in the government, the Ministry of Public Service should have the best permanent secretary. And I can confirm there's absolutely no dispute, Mr. Speaker. There's absolutely no dispute that the leader of the public service is placed in the right place. And so I want to thank my permanent secretary for providing that leadership. And I want to thank the team at the Ministry of Public Service and National Insurance for their commitment and their hard work. You know, Mr. Speaker, in the public service, we get criticized all the time. And I say to my staff, because you manage 22,000 individuals, you will get complaints. But it's your duty to do your best. And I can confirm that they are doing their best. And we are doing a wonderful work on behalf of the government. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my wife and my children for their support, for their graciousness and their commitment. And I want to say to all Bahamians, I want you to have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy your life and enjoy celebrating at this time. I also want to say, Mr. Speaker, to my colleague from Exuma, who I always call my MP, continue to do your great work. And as the MP for my hometown, I just want to remind you that the leader of the opposition did some great work to the next 2 islands, so, you know, you got a commitment to do to the largest island in the second largest vote. The capital of the Keys is a better word. Thank you so much, my colleague. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity and to wish my colleagues and the rest of the Bahamas a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for West Grand Bahama and Bimini.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, without God's grace and mercy, we remain mere beings. And West Grand Bahama and Bimini is grateful for his continued guidance and protection. Mr. Speaker, the holiday season is not necessarily a happy one for the family of Mr. Keno Williams, who would have lost his life in the Turks and Caicos. So I take this opportunity to extend deepest condolences to the Williams family out of Holmes Rock on his passing and ask God's strengthening of them during their hour of bereavement. Mr. Speaker, we are going ahead in West Grand Bahama and Bimini, becoming that community that we desire. Our dependency, Mr. Speaker, has diminished within the last 2 years as we are now realizing that the only way for us to make it is to become our neighbor's keeper and to be there for one another. We reflect on this year, Mr. Speaker, having gone through so much as a result of Hurricane Dorian and other issues that continue to ill our society, Mr. Speaker, but we remain grateful and thankful for all that continues to happen in a positive light, and on that foundation we will continue to build. I wish to take this opportunity to extend my deepest gratefulness to all that would have impacted our community building, to all those that I represent in the various portfolios, from that of the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas to the Bahamas Information Services, Lands and Survey, all of those people, the Bahamas Film Board, that continue to work in the vein of making this country a better place through the simplest of efforts. But today, Mr. Speaker, I remind the entire constituency of West Grand Bahama and indeed the Bahamas that we are to be grateful for life and that no matter what we go through, we are to thank God. I prepare now, Mr. Speaker, to go into the new year with a constituency that continues to support me in my representation of them, and I am thankful for all that they do. I thank them for everything, the biggest of the big and the littlest of the small. I think the littlest. Mr. Speaker, Merry Christmas to my colleagues, all of you in here. Merry Christmas to West Grand Bahama and Bimini, and Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year to the entire Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for St. Barnabas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Yuletide season, as we know, is a festive season, but it's also a season for family and friends. And in the wake of Hurricane Dorian, we have a number of our fellow Bahamians, Grand Bahamians, and Abaconians in particular, who will have a different kind of Christmas for obvious reasons. So firstly, I would just like to extend my continued prayers and support to the people of Abaco and Grand Bahama as they try to get oriented, if you will, with their new situations wherever they may be. Mr. Speaker, I see the member of Yamakor, he's leaving now, but I want my member of Parliament, to know that I've been waiting to see him during this season, and yes, and I'm waiting on that little thing, Mr. Speaker. Right? But unlike the member for Central and South Andros, the member for Yamakor still has my vote. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, there is not much daylight between myself and the member for Kalani, the Prime Minister, except for when it comes to one thing. He is a member of that group, some group called the Saxons, and I am a member of the greatest shock, the Hillside Crew. the greatest shock, Mr. Speaker, the Hillside Crew. The Hillside Crew and the greatest junker group in the world, which is the world famous Valley Boys. So I see that the member, Kalani, is not here right now, and I hope that this does not cost me any kind of political heartburn. But I want the member to know if he is feeling a little unsettled in his stomach, that's the volley in his belly. All right? Mr. Speaker, but on a real serious note, Mr. Speaker, it's been indeed an honor and continues to be an honor to represent the great people from the constituency of St. Barnabas, namely Coconut Grove, Black Village, Big Pond, Rock Crusher, and Oakfield. I wish my constituents a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I extend likewise those same sentiments to all of my colleagues here in the House of Assembly and senators wherever they may be, and indeed to all Bahamians in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And just to remind Bahamians that as we come to the end of another year and God's willing transition into 2020, that despite our challenges and despite our imperfections as a people, I still do believe and contend that the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is the greatest nation on earth. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Pine Ridge.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to thank Almighty God for allowing us to get to this juncture of the year and to say to the people of Pine Ridge how grateful and thankful I am for their support throughout the course of this year, that my prayers are with them, as Doreen has done a good bit of damage to the people of Pine Ridge, and indeed extension to the people of Grand Bahama. I'm grateful for the persons of the MacPac and the team and volunteers who have helped me, and the international partners that have assisted us during the course of this year to assist our people, as we're now in the rebuilding stages of the Pine Ridge Educational Center that had received some damage and flooding in that area. We are now trying to be back on track so that by January 6th, our students will be back in school as they continue their virtual learning to receive their diploma. I want to also encourage the people of Pine Ridge, and by extension, Grand Bahama, and it could also be extended to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. This is not a time for splurging or extravagance. Christmas is one day, and we must be thankful for life, be cognizant of all those who have lost their lives during the course of this year. I want to take this opportunity to wish my collegiate partners and constituents and the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas a very Merry Christmas, and may the Prince of Peace, who is able to keep you in perfect peace, grant you a peaceful New Year. Merry Christmas, God bless, and a peaceful New Year to the Bahamas.
And the chair recognizes the honorable member for Southern Shores.
Speaker, if Pine Ridge has space for a little humor, I want to say to him, no double dipping, because on the 4th of this month, you said these things because you weren't going to be present last week. Mr. Speaker, that said, a lot of transparency. A lot indeed. That said, Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by extending Christmas greetings to our colleagues here in these chambers and our parliamentary colleagues in the Senate. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding our differences of opinion throughout the course of the year, we all exhibited a passion for our constituents and a passion for the Bahamian people in general, representing our views and our conviction. And I think that we have that common thread, which is the interests of the Bahamas. And I'm pleased that God has so blessed us that we can still be here at this point in the year. That said, Mr. Speaker, I want to give my most sincere gratitude to the good people of Southern Shores for having allowed me to be here. I want to thank them for their continued support. There's a group of young men who are led by Shanari Lewis and the Amelees and so on, who have taken as a personal project the Love Your Yard campaign, and that has resulted, Mr. Speaker, in fewer derelict vehicles throughout the constituency, less white waste, etc., and which has added to the quality of life of the people in Southern Shores. My constituency association and their team of executives continue to stand with me and undergird our efforts as a team. Mr. Speaker, this year has been a very trying year, and the Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development, even in the best of times, is exposed to those who are more vulnerable in our community, but more so in the last 3 months. And Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development has risen to the challenge, and notwithstanding the dissatisfaction that may be expressed by a few, we have reached and touched persons who are in need. And Mr. Speaker, the good member for Garden Hills knew that he could not have gone unchallenged. He speaks of Donella Bodie as being the best permanent secretary in the service, and I could vouch for Ms. Bodie because I had the privilege of working with her as a police officer. I just want to say that when we start talking about the best permanent secretary, there will be a whole lot of ties, because there's a commercial that says you never forget your first girl. And when I went to transport, I had Lorraine and Bristol
who I dubbed as the best and greatest permanent secretary in the world. And I dare not take that title back. But I now have the privilege of working with Pedro Ramin, who too is the best permanent secretary. So you see, we're going to have a whole lot of ties. Mr. Speaker, the team at the Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development are deserving of commendation, and I'm pleased at this time to be a part of that team. And so I wish everybody in their respective places with their respective titles a very Merry Christmas. And I want to take this opportunity to urge my personal friends that note the amendment to the Road Traffic Act that was tabled this morning and ensure that everybody has a designated driver. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Chair recognizes the honourable member for Pinewood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rise by the grace of God for the good of Pinewood. I wanted to express my sincere love and best wishes not only for the season but the aftermath thereof, which is January, for everyone. And I want to say special thanks and acknowledgement on behalf of myself and my good Minister Darren Henfield to the staff and team at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Wonderful people. Our PS, he's a guy. Director General Sharon Bennett-Haylock, Freddie Tucker, and Eugene Nuri, these senior people who for me has been a guiding light, and my special thanks to my personal assistant, Patricia Williams. I call her my ride and die. Great love and great respect. I think God has sent her to me. Mr. Speaker, I want to also thank those in my community. I think I heard somebody speaking about a deficit of leadership in the community of Pinewood, and they were speaking in relation to me as the MP, and I smiled because I said, he don't understand that community is not me, community is we. And I want to thank Pinewood, and I'd start by thanking those organizations that would have come about since May 10th, 2017. I want to say a special thank to our festival committee, Community Crime Watch, our Empowerment Committee, our Events Committee, our Scout Association, our Youth Empowerment, our Archery Club, Pinewood's Beekeeping Club, Pinewood Co-op, Kiwanis Club of Pinewood, the Senior Citizens Club, that one has been around longer, Pinewood's Community Growers Club, Pinewood Breakfast Club, where we feed on a regular basis every month breakfast for the whole community, whosoever will. Pinewood Parents Group. We have other groups that go around and regularly service our senior citizens' home. These are all groups of different people who makes up the we in our community. And I want to say a special thank you to them with all my heart. I also want to remind our first group of residents, which will consist of our Senior Citizens Club, of our scheduled lunch date on Saturday. We're going to leave at 10 a.m. and we'll be on the Navigator of the Seas, one of those big cruise ships. We're going to tour the cruise ship. We're going to have some lunch together. And for the, yeah, you know that. We're going to do a couple of them. And for the wider community, 2 o'clock on Saturday, we're going to have a luncheon at the Pinewood headquarters, your community office, at 2 p.m. All is invited to attend. I want to thank the community of Pinewood for a very successful year. And I just want to remind them, as I always have, that we can take you to water. I can even drink the water for you, but it won't benefit you. You have to consume it yourselves. Take advantage in this new year of all the opportunities we make available for you. And I encourage you to bring your ideas to the table. There's no one leader in Pinewood. There's a community leadership. So on behalf of Pinewood, I extend to all of my colleagues here today and the staff of the House of Assembly, Mr. Speaker, and also to our colleagues in the Senate, a very, very Merry Christmas a healthy and prosperous new year. And from my family to the community of Pinewood, we wish you all the blessings, not just during this Christmas, but throughout the new year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Chair recognizes Honorable Member for Central and South Eleuthera.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to wish the constituents of Central and South Eleuthera a Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2020. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, I would like to send a shout out to the former Speaker, Mr. James Arthur Bingham, who is home recovering, and to Bernice Pinder, who's also recovering. I pray that you all will have a speedy recovery. On a sadder note, this Saturday, August, we will be putting to rest one of our giants out of the Rocktown area, Mr. Sammy Culmer, who has been a great ambassador for the island of Eleuthera. He will surely be missed. I pray that his soul would rest in peace. Mr. Speaker, I'd just like to use this opportunity to send a shout out to the residents of Eleuthera. And I just want them to understand and to know that Eleuthera's begin to move now, and the investors are coming in. But I want them to understand that many of the companies that are coming to the islands have policies in place. And you must go and register your businesses, and you must make sure that your businesses are licensed. So at the end of the day, you are able to attract and get some of that business from those investors. We're finding out we're having problems in that area, but you have to go and do it yourself. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to recognize my two administrators, Mr. Knowles in the South, Ms. Duncan in Central. I want to thank you all for a great year, a year of service you've been given to the island of Eleuthera. To our local government practitioners, our chief councillors, our council members, our town committee members, you have done an excellent job in both districts. I want to thank you for the work that you've been doing in those various communities. I also would like to thank all of those donors who have contributed to the development and the growth of Central and South. And at this time, I'd like to announce that we are having our community party this Saturday on the 21st at the ballpark in Savannah Sound. Make sure you get the kids there early. Bus transportation will be provided from Deep Creek and Benjamintown in the south to Hatcher Bay in the north. I want the entire island of Eleuthera to be there. But I also want to remind you, remember the reason for the season. Let's not forget. And in the presence of all of our fun and games that we're having, let's always keep Christ in the midst. On behalf of myself, my wife, my family, we wish you a Merry, Merry Christmas, and we pray that 2020 will be the greatest year. Eleuthera sure is looking forward to it. God bless.
Chair recognizes Honorable Member for Port Charlotte.
Good afternoon, House. I'd like to extend Christmas greetings to the residents of Port Charlotte during this holiday season, Mr. Speaker. In particular, I'd like to extend my appreciation to the many residents and individuals who partnered with me to help make our community a more vibrant, more healthy, and more peaceful place to live, Mr. Speaker. In particular, I'd like to extend my appreciation to Mrs. Charlene St. Roll, Chairman and officers and members of the F&M Fort Charlotte Association. I'd like to say thank you to them. Thank you to Peggy and Pauline Knowles and the Charlotte Ridge Crime Watch Association, to Clementine Richardson and Mr. Pratt from the Dastra State 2 and 3 Crime Watch Association, and Mrs. Barbara Hepburn from the West Grove Crime Watch Association. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say thank you to them because, again, they've done a tremendous job in the community in helping us keep crime down, keep eyes out, make sure the community is safe and, once again, peaceful. To Reverend Philip Stubbs and the St. Michael's Church family, Reverend D'Angelo Bowe, and the Holy Spirit Church family, Bishop Dennis Lafreniere, over the Greater Church, Chippingham Church of God, the Johnson Park Church of God family in Farrington Road, Reverend Culmer, and the St. Joseph Catholic Church for their spiritual guidance and inspiration for the community on a year-round basis, Mr. Speaker. Now, I'd like to also announce that our kids' Christmas party and giveaway will be held this Sunday from 5 to 7 p.m. at our Defenders Cafe in Mystic Center on the corner of Boyd Road and Pilgrim Avenue. Now, we had a great celebration last year, and we expect this year to be even better, so we're looking forward to that. And so I'd like to say from my family to my colleagues here and to my residents, from my family to yours, I extend best wishes to you all and to your families, and pray that the spirit of love and all the happiness of the season be yours and yours to share. With that, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year. But before I take my seat, Mr. Speaker, I recognize that everybody was given, the member from St. Barnabas, the member from Tall Pines, and all the others were talking about their Junkanoo groups. But I'd also like to shout out to the Roots of Fort Charlotte, wish them well, the Conquerors for Christ, and the New Vikings Junkanoo group, all from Fort Charlotte. Excuse me? Groups? How many groups I have? Listen, everything emanates from Fort Charlotte. Don't forget now, most of y'all, check your family histories. Most of you emanated from Fort Charlotte. We have 3 groups. Roots, Conquerors for Christ, and the New Vikings group. So, Mr. Speaker, I wish them well on Bay Street. I'll be out there trying to pull some strings for them. Oh, I forgot that part of it. I pull it for everyone, but particularly these 3. Particularly these 3. So, Mr. Speaker, again, to all my colleagues and to the Bahamas, a happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Did you recognize this Honorable Member for Bain and Grandstown?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, here's the setup. I just stand to extend a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the great people of Bain and Grandstown who have afforded me the opportunity to stand in this honorable House of Assembly. And we've went through another year of servanthood and another year of working together to rebuild our community from the many years of neglect, one would call it, and for the many persons who've had hope for their community to be a better place for them to live in and for them to bring up their children. So I want to extend special thanks to the constituents who have made it possible for me to stand here, and certainly to the entire Bahamas, particularly, Mr. Speaker, to our men and women of uniform, those of whom will be guiding and protecting our streets and our borders, even up on Christmas Day, when many of us will be celebrating and eating ham and turkey and the likes at the Christmas table and the dinner table. There will be men and women of uniform who will be up about our streets and on our waters, who won't have the opportunity to spend time with their family. And so to them, I want to remind them that I believe that our nation is grateful to their service for what they continue to do to make our country a better place. And even those nurses and doctors, Mr. Speaker, who would be spending time or working during this Christmas season and also the New Year season. And oftentimes, Mr. Speaker, we may forget those persons because they may not be in the front line of our eyes. But they are the men and women and individuals of our Bahamas who continue to make this country a better place and continue to help our country to roll on all 6 cylinders. And so we're not unmindful for their contribution. And I can tell you that I believe that our people in the Bahamas is indeed thankful for the work that they continue to do. And even those, Mr. Speaker, the first responders to our just past Hurricane Dorian, men and women who who put themselves out in danger and on the front line to ensure that we get our country back to a state of normalcy, persons who went out because it was more than just a duty to them. I extend a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to them, and thank them, Mr. Speaker, for the work that they have done throughout this year. This is a time of gratitude, a time of giving, and most times we can get caught up in what we get and what we don't get. And so I'm also mindful of the young men who are on our streets and on our blocks. And I want to send a clear message to them, Mr. Speaker, to put down the weapons and put down the guns during this Christmas season as we try to unite as one country, one common goal, and we celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And so to them, I want to encourage them to pick up a book, do something meaningful. And as we go forward in this 2020 new year, I certainly look forward to continuing to work with all of my parliamentary colleagues, the people of Bain and Grandstown, and the entire Bahamas. Mr. Speaker, I thank you as well for your service. I rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member.
Finally, about double dipping, I want to beg your indulgence just to mention 2 dates that I failed to.
The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Southern Shores.
Thank you, thank you. Finally, I just didn't want you to be the only double dipper. Mr. Speaker, the 19th, which is tomorrow, the Southern Shores Constituency Association will have a Christmas tree lighting at 7 p.m. at the post office at Carmichael Road. And also announcing the Urban Renewal Band is having a concert on the 22nd at St. Joseph's Church Hall. I think it's at 6 p.m. on Lloyd Road. And then I want to announce for both myself and for Garden Hills, owing to technical difficulties, we postponed our children's party from Saturday the 21st to January 4th, same place. But I'm announcing that our children can take advantage of the other parties that are still being held the 21st. We are patronize them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Golden Isles.
For unto us the child is born, unto us a son is given. The government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Prince of Peace, Almighty God, Everlasting Father. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, it's that time of the year again, and when it seems as if things shift, the atmosphere shifts, and a sense of peace and joy fills the air. However, Mr. Speaker, in the Golden Isles constituency, I'd like to begin on a sad note. The proprietor of Bethel's Trucking resides in the constituency, and on Sunday past, he suffered his demise on Sunday morning. The family of the late Mr. Stanley Bethel, I should like to convey sincere, heartfelt condolences to them, and may the Lord comfort and strengthen them during this difficult time. I should also like to extend now, Mr. Speaker, holiday greetings to the entire Golden Isles family and wish them a happy and a Merry Christmas and certainly a healthy and prosperous New Year. To our office staff, Mr. Speaker, to all of my colleagues here in this historic place. Also, Mr. Speaker, those that would have suffered from Hurricane Dorian, and in our constituency, particularly in the Coral Harbor and Coral Heights East and West, suffered extreme flooding in those areas. Also, Mr. Speaker, the many persons in our country who were placed in the misery index, many of them who do not have lights, many of them who will not have gifts, many of them who will not be able to afford ham and turkey. And I'd like for us to keep them in our prayers and to keep them in our thoughts, and certainly hope that better days will come their way. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I should like to extend an invitation to the residents in the Golden Isles constituency to attend our Christmas party this Saturday from 2 in the afternoon until 5, and it will be held on the grounds of our constituency office. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable members, there being no further member statements, I just wish at this time to wish all of the residents and constituents in the Nassau Village constituency a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This is a time in our constituency of great ambivalence. We are entering the Christmas season having just recently experienced the murders of 3 women in our constituency. Miss Gloria Roll on the 17th of September, Miss Kenrika Martin on the 27th of November, and Miss Cleo Lockett just last week on the 14th of December. In this regard, while we are preparing to celebrate the birth of Christ, this is also a period of mourning in our constituency. And as a consequence, on Sunday, the 22nd at 6 p.m., we will hold a candlelight vigil as we keep watch and we pray for the families of those victims. I'm grateful at this time to Miss Candy Gibson of FOAM, that is the Organization of Family of All Murder Victims, who I've had the opportunity to meet with yesterday to organize this prayer vigil on Sunday, on the 22nd, and we are inviting members who have an interest in this area, particularly the Zonda Club, to join us on Sunday. We're inviting the Reverend Simeon Hall to join us, and the Reverend C.B. Moss also to join us. Those persons are Reverend Walter Hanschel, who have organizations to contest and meet the challenge of violence, particularly against women in our nation. And after Sunday, we'll try to get into the full Christmas mood when we host our Christmas party on Saturday, the 28th of December on the Nassau Village Park. And that will begin at 2 p.m. We are inviting all our residents to join us in those festive activities. And last but not least, I wish to extend a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of my parliamentary colleagues, those on the government side, those in the minority and official opposition, as well as the independent members of Parliament. A very Merry Christmas. And I cannot forget the hard-working staff of Parliament who have been working towards the advancement of this institution, particularly in this 290th anniversary of this institution. I think we have achieved some of our goals, and we look forward to the year 2020, which I consider the year of vision. And we should be moving this institution forward towards the democratic and constitutional independence of this institution. Having said that, we look forward to an exciting but yet challenging 2020. We wish you all the best. Appointment of select committees. Instructions to select committees. Discharge of select committees. Notices for future meetings. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Mangrove Key, South and Central Andros.
Mr. Speaker, during just the Yuletide season, we wouldn't make these announcements long at all, so I'll simply say all notices in the name of Majesty Loyal Opposition remain for the year 2020, and hopefully not beyond. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the leader of opposition business. We will say, Mr. Speaker, that we renew all matters in the name of the government, 2020 and beyond. And Mr. Speaker, we do signal that we will return to this place on 10 a.m. Wednesday, the 29th of January, 2020. And the reason why we're coming back on the 29th is the Speaker will be at a conference in Canada, the 5th through the 10th. The Rules Committee of the House will be meeting, and there are a number of members, both in the opposition and on our side, that have meetings during the week of the 22nd. It was intended that the House would return on the 22nd of January, but because of those prior meetings, some personal achievements by some members, and by mutual agreement, we will come back on the 29th. We will, when we come back on the 29th, colleagues, we will be prepared to engage in the midterm budget debate, which we know will ensue. And so, Mr. Speaker, I do now move that the House adjourns until 10 a.m. Wednesday, January the 29th, 2020. And I also want to signal to all colleagues here and to our Senate colleagues as well that at 1 o'clock today is our parliamentary luncheon. All is invited to the Hilton, and we're looking forward to having a fun-filled time of togetherness. And so with that, Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second, and as I take my seat, I add Shirley Smith to those great permanent secretaries.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the House adjourns to 10 a.m. Wednesday, the 29th of January in the year 2020. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Final adjournment.
Speaker, I move that the House adjourns, and let's go have lunch. Second.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the House adjourns to 10 a.m. Wednesday, the 29th of January in the year 2020. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. The House stands adjourned to 10 a.m. Wednesday, the 29th of January in the year 2020.
All right.